All right, the time's 7 o'clock. We're just missing a couple of councillors, but we've got a quorum, so that's fine. So we'll start. We'll just start off by a civic prayer by Councillor Sissia. So you'll stand, please.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. And the Leeton Shire Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri people and their continued impact on our community. We acknowledge their connection to the land, water and sky. We acknowledge all Aboriginal people who have made the Leeton Shire their home. As such, we pay our respects to all elders, past, present and emerging of our Shire. Thank you. Take a seat. And welcome to the gallery down the back there. Much appreciated. Just before we start, I'd just like to remind people that our videos and our meetings are now video recorded, and members of the public are advised that their voice and or image may form part of that recording. Now, to start with, we have a member of the public, Chelsea Clark. Want to come forward for us, Chelsea, please? Maybe just stand this, Councillor Weston there. Thank you. Just for those, Leeton Shire Council's initiated a Leeton Shire Youth Council, and they meet about 5 or 6 times a year. Chelsea Clark's part of that committee. She's come along tonight. Last Monday we met and we discussed one of the items in the papers tonight, which is item 7.16, page 530, which is the proposed name of the grandstand at Leeton 1 Oval. Councillor Maiden. That was discussed by the Youth Council, and I'll just hand over to Chelsea to talk about that, if you don't mind.
Evening, councillors. So I'm here on behalf of the Leeton Youth Council, and we got the proposed recommendation that the unnamed grandstand should be named after Bill Arnold, and we argued for and against the matter. And both sides had valid points, but ultimately we decided that the grandstand name should go to Bill Arnold. And that stemmed from his fundraising and purchasing of the Parramatta Stadium seats and enabling the community and other players to enjoy the stadium from those seats. As well as his involvement in not just the Greenies, but also the wider community. And his sorry, it's hard to put on the spot. And how he has helped the community with purchasing these seats, and also sorry, I've written stuff down. Sorry. And so being a part of another club as well, not just a part of the Greenies, he's helped the wider community as well as different codes of football and football clubs enjoy the stadium and call that stadium home.
All right, thanks very much, Chelsea. As I said, the Youth Council voted on that and unanimous. They don't recommend anything to us. They just provide us with information that they support that item. That'll be discussed later on in the meeting. Thanks very much. You're free to leave if you want to. We can save the next 3 hours. No problems. It's up to you, but you've done really well, and the Youth Council is really kicking goals. So well done with that. So thank you for that, and thanks for your indulgence there, councillors in the gallery. Right, item 3 is the apologies, applications for leave of absence by any councillors. I assume Councillor Nardi may be running late with the business matters, so we'll wait for her to arrive.
I'd accept that as an apology for lateness.
Yeah, yep, thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday, 13th December 2023, as circulated, be taken as read and confirmed. I'll move that, please. Moved by Councillor Sissia, second by Councillor Maiden. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, any disclosures of interest? Councillor Weston.
I'd like to disclose item 7.3, Roxy Community Theatre. I've been engaged as a mechanical contractor.
Thank you. So what have you lodged?
I'll be leaving I've entered into debate. I'll be leaving the chamber.
All right. So what type of
Pecuniary.
is it pecuniary?
So pecuniary interest, and it could be significant.
All right. Thank you. That'll be noted. Thank you.
Anyway,
I think I may have fair a non-pecuniary interest because I'm a very, very, very good friend of Bill Arnold. So item 7.16.
Oh, so that'd be just a non-pecuniary. Yeah. All
That's
right.
significant,
Yeah. Okay.
significant non-pecuniary.
So when you can just fill out one of those forms for us and.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thanks, councillors. Item 6 is mayoral minutes. There's no mayoral minutes. So we go on to the reports to council. And the first item is 7 point on page 5, which is the annual financial statements for the year ending 30th of June 2023 with auditor's opinion. I'll have some amendments to that. That you've all been on your table there should have a item 7.1 with some tabs on there. Got that there, councillor Holt? Got that one there?
Yep.
I'll just go through those. There's just some changes. You'll see on page 4, it's all highlighted in yellow and it's tabbed there. Page 4 is a new figure of 989. Page 5 for the general fund 2022 operating result. There's some changes to that. Page 13. Unrestricted current ratio for 2022. There's been a slight change in that. All been highlighted there.
Page 9 is.
And I left out page 9, did I?
Oh, I know.
Got it? Yeah. Sorry, and on page 9 as well, the new figure for the 2022 figure. Do you have a comment about those changes at all, General Manager, or they've been picked up through the audit process, or?
I agree, Mr Mayor, they were picked up by Councillor Sisia, who then triggered the Director of Corporate, R.V. Singh, who's with us for our first meeting tonight. And he and Lawrence have obviously checked some numbers, so Councillor Sisia asked the first question.
All right, well done, Councillor Sisia. Councillor Holt, John.
Just on that, does that then change the original from Crow, from Brad Burns? Are we now not certain whether he was on the mark?
Through you, Mr Mayor, so Brad Bones on the screen, so he's the auditor. It's not, doesn't change anything in the financial statements. It's simply the covering summary report from staff that's been changed.
Oh, okay, so our staff misinterpreted Brad's report, was it?
Through the chair, so the numbers that have changed are basically 2022, so nothing has changed in 2023.
All right, and look, very rude of me, of course, we're a new director and I've just ignored him tonight, everybody. So my apologies. Welcome to the Leeton Shire Council. We're glad to have you here. We're very glad to have you here, actually. So
Thank you.
hopefully will be a nice, fruitful relationship with yourself and the councillors and the staff. So welcome. All right. Before we go any further, on Zoom we have our auditor, Brad. You hear us? Okay, Brad.
Yeah, 100%. I can hear you fine.
All right. And the gallery can hear him okay? Do you want to introduce him, Jackie, or?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So just introducing Brad Bowen from Crow. Crow has been our auditor for several years now, doing audits on behalf of the New South Wales Audit Office. And as per the requirement of the Local Government Act, we're bringing those audited financial accounts back to council. The auditor, and Brad's headed it up, will speak to the audit result and council will have the opportunity to ask him questions.
All right, just for a procedural thing, we haven't moved the motion yet. We're happy for Brad to talk before we. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. So it's all yours,
Yeah.
mate.
Thanks very much. So good evening. It's really positive that council obtained some extensions to lodge their financial statements with the Office of Local Government. And we got extensions until the end of February, and essentially we're here ready to go with completed signed financial statements. So essentially with the benefit of an extension of time, which was permitted by the OLG, we're going to lodge inside the extension that was provided. So Jackie and myself are very happy with that outcome. Council's financial statements for June 23 is what we're talking about. So it's a little bit back in time. The situation for council was some change in finance team personnel. And also it was an awkward year from trying to just understand what's presented as your profit and loss statement. A couple of key items that sit inside that make your headline metrics inside the income statement look positive is that there was an additional uptick in the financial assistance grant that went from 75% to now 100% in advance. So 365 days worth of FAG funding has been received by the council. And because it's not sufficiently specific to what it's required to be spent on, it's treated as income upon receipt. So that amplifies our income with no corresponding expenditure. There was also a couple of other contributing factors. Interest rates moved up during the year. As a council, we have very little borrowing, so we have some money on term deposit. That drove a higher return on those items. And then there was some disaster relief funding. So council suffered a water event, and there was 1.6 million in grant monies that came through, which again was recorded as income without a corresponding expenditure. So in our profit and loss statement, it presents a very positive picture driven by those three outcomes, and that needs to be kept in mind. What happens for council is that you've got a range of cash and cash equivalent balances, so cash in the bank and term deposits held at the bank, but then council restricts those funds. And that's where council recognises that certain monies coming in from a grant perspective haven't been spent, and so those funds need to be restricted. And this is something that has troubled a few local governments in New South Wales over the past couple of years. And it's pleasing that council has got solid cash balances, and it's also restricted both its FAG monies in advance and the other grant funds which have been provided to it. So council has a clear picture of what's its available cash monies that don't have restrictions. From the range of metrics that are sitting there, the benefit of those income receiving items has meant that council presents an improving picture, albeit very slightly, on the position in that was reported in 2022. So ultimately, the Audit Office issued a audit opinion. That audit opinion is qualified, so it contains the words "except for," and it's except for the treatment of RFS assets. This is an item that Leeton Shire is very acutely aware of. Council has some, let's call them red fleet assets inside the council LGA. They are not recorded on council's balance sheet. And without efforts to quantify those, council has received an except for opinion, which pretty much mirrors the situation from 22. This is not new news. It's really a replication of the treatment that was applied for the financial year 22, is the same treatment in 23. Council didn't change its approach and attitude. And so the Audit Office have continued to qualify on that particular element of the balance sheet. Aside from that, council has received everything else. It receives the outcome of being true and fair, and there's a conduct report which has been issued and appended as well. If I take a breath there, that felt like I did that in one go. Happy to take any questions from the floor, but we would like to recognise our appreciation to both Lawrence, who helped support us post his finish date as a full-time employee. We also enjoyed the support of Max as well for a stub period. And right at the very, very end, the new Director of Corporate Services joined. So it was many hands helped contribute to the outcome of where we are today.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, just want to say one more thing in regards, and this is the public record, because I know councillors are aware of this, but the position around the RFS fleet and council's choice not to record it in the assets is part of an official position paper by council and has been endorsed by the ARIC committee, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Just want to put that on the public record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions for the auditor? Councillors. Councillor Sisia.
Thanks, Brad. I just wonder if you're able to comment on a comment made by the delegate of the Auditor General, just in regard to how we've carried out our business, I guess. She states that the council, she can't assure that the council has carried out its activities effectively, efficiently, or economically. I'm just asking that question in relation to how do we know if we're running at our optimum efficiency, I guess?
It's a good question. All the councils are councils by name, but there's nuances and differences in how they operate. The audit office is doing a range of performance audits, of which councils similar to yours are selected and included around those economy, efficiency, and effectiveness outcomes. It's different in terms of in the rural regional communities, council can be asked to deliver services that aren't common across all platforms, such as childcare and different activities, and we can enter those and then exit them as another provider steps forward to then take that mantle going forward. So some of the ability to use those universal assessments. We conducted a range of both expense, payroll, and receipt testing, and any of our findings were channeled back through the ARIC. ARIC also and council also employs the services of an internal auditor, and we reviewed the construct of their work. So there was nothing that, to my mind, jumps out as being particularly deficient in economy, efficiency, or effectiveness. It's just not the remit of the Auditor General. They're currently recording on the truth and fairness of your financial report.
Thank you. And just one other question. Since 2016, we've grown our cash and investments from around 33 million to 54. Do you believe we can maintain that growth moving forward, say, in the long term, in the 10-year plan?
If you could, it would be amazing. My sense is a range of that funds that's held in the 54 million is tied. Your external restrictions have increased, which is water and sewer related, and your internal restrictions or allocations have also increased, which is linked to the FAG money, employee reserves. Council's structure is such that you've got a large road network that needs to be maintained, and not a huge population of user pay contributors to that. So I would be pleasantly surprised, but I would be astonished if council could maintain that growth rate over that same period and replicate it again. Because essentially you're in service delivery mode. So it's the long-term financial plan is about balancing the needs of sustainability of the council together with the outflows which are associated with delivering ratepayer services.
Thank you.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Brad, and thank you for your summary of our financials for the past year. Just touching on, you did allude very much to that we did receive that 100% of the FAGS grant and that extra grant money, which obviously has to be quarantined and used for the appropriate restrictions over the next year, which I'm not sure everyone always understands the implication that has, because my fear is always the government often pays up to 75% a year in advance, but this year's paid 100. So at some stage in some year in the future, it's going to pull it back, which we've always had that fear and have seen it happen to that extent. So it does overinflate the situation of where we're at, where we're landing at 30 June. My question is about the general fund. And I'm interested to hear your perspective, having a good look and analysing our financials, is, how are we operating in the sustainable long-term future? I look at our own sources revenue ratios and, they're decreasing. And I think, this is where we're generally heading. It's not sustainable in the long-term position of where we are on our own sources cash, the revenue that we actually manage to receive. Is that a fair summation, your perspective?
Certainly that aligns with a topic that the Country Mayors Association is championing, that the formula around FAG is aged, and does it continue to represent an appropriate allocation of funds? You're not alone in a situation where the specialty funds to the side, water and sewer, are to an extent helping support the operations. They consume a bunch of the overhead cost. The general fund is under challenge, and councils are trying to find innovative ways to generate more own source funding. That's a challenge. Council continues to engage in obtaining grants that are advertised and available, but the core grant that you're receiving at the moment, a lot of councils, including Leeton, from a general fund perspective, would find that the FAG grant, being your main chunk of cash that comes in, is not representative of the upkeep requirements of the road network. The users of the roads have an increasing expectation on, and the condition assessment, together with some of the natural disasters, makes it really challenging to keep that asset to the equivalent standard of ratepayer expectation. So the general fund, as a result, continues to be under siege.
And in my mind, it still needs addressing. So we can't just live on hope that we'll get 100% FAG grades going forward. And as you alluded, it's still under pressure, and that's not going to subside.
Yes.
Thank you, Brad.
Brad, I just got a question. I just for the council, it's on page 130 of our separate attachment, and it's page 5 of the audit report, Brad, and it's all about the performance measures.
Yes.
And there's a benchmark to OLG across a number of areas, including debt service cover ratio and what sort of stuff.
Yes.
My reading of it, and that's why I just want to get confirmed that we seem to be above the benchmark in all those areas.
Yes, council's position reports favourably, and we need to take the trends into account, but favourably this year, largely across those 3 contributing income items that came through in the 23 year, and the expense didn't necessarily chase it through. So you're interpreting those ratios accurately. They all show, if in some instances, quite a marginal improvement, but they're all above the OLG benchmark. Not every council of your type is enjoying that position, but what we'd also caution you is that a couple of them are in the positive zone, but the situation is marginal.
Well, thanks, Brad. Councillor Maida.
I guess a comment, then a question, as well as a question on page 11. And I know there's been comment about grant money drying up, and there's been comment about, being paid in advance for the FAG grants, those types of things. But, when you're reading that and you're going, council's cash and investment levels continue to remain very strong. And we've seen that upwards trajectory over the last couple of years. Surely there is some confidence in that. If they're not, or, I know we're looking into the future and we're saying we might not get grant funding, or we might not have access to this, that, and the other, but does that not give us some confidence as a council?
So from my perspective, it's certainly cash has been a key focus. Certainly the ARIC chair has been passionate on this item for a couple of years now. And so I think through that's heightened the focus of management. So efforts have gone into making sure and trying to make progressive improvement steps in terms of attracting and then retention of cash to help improve the sustainability of council. So it sort of just hasn't happened today. It's been a process and a bit of a journey over the past couple of years. And there is some outflows to go from that. But from accounting terms, you're required to cut off at a point. Yours is 30 June, and for 30 June 23, council holds a significant portion of cash, $50 million. A large element of that is already allocated away to projects, and so that's the next step that needs to be understood in the full sentence of yes, you have $54 million. Is it tied and allocated for projects? You bet.
Happy with that? Councillor Holt.
That's all well and good, but that gives us a picture as of June 23. I really want to know how we're sitting right now. Have our cash investments increased because of the RBA increases? Have we lost any money? Like
It's in your investment reports.
yeah, but this is old news.
But it's in your investment reports in a couple of items.
This is, yeah, I understand what you're saying there. This is,
There's an investment report here, but a financial position, you know, like an investment report doesn't cover everything that's covered in this, though.
Covers the RBA stuff.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the quarterly budget review for the period ending December will be coming to the next month's meeting, which will give council a cash position, a position on the financial position of council.
Well, it's
Report financial position of council.
well, my concern was that we asked for 4 extensions.
We asked for 3 extensions to get the audited financials completed and into the Office of Local Government. That doesn't impact the business, just carried on
Yeah.
the rest of the year. That was to get the report together and get it submitted to the auditors, then to the New South Wales Audit Office, and now it's got to go to the Office of Local Government.
Can I have an explanation why we asked for 3 extensions?
Yeah, so that's what the auditor spoke about in the beginning. First of all, the challenge with the financial team. So we lost our director of corporate, we lost our finance manager. Thankfully, the finance manager did come back in a part-time capacity to help us through. We also didn't have a management accountant. So we were down 3 staff, 3 significant staff in the finance team. So that was a big contributing factor. The second factor was we've been working hard at getting correlation happening between our asset management and our financial reporting on our assets. And we landed up having one of the valuations, and I'll ask Lawrence to just expand on this if I don't give the story accurately, but one of the valuers that came in did buildings, and they were supposed to have completed it by mid-year. They only provided us the final report in September, and it was December, the final report in December, and it was vastly the figures were vastly different to what we've had before. So we've seen a huge growth in how our buildings have been valued, which has a flow-on effect back to depreciation. So all those things compounded, and but the Office of Local Government was very understanding. By December, we were one of 42 councils seeking extensions. I think everybody was trying very hard to get assets married up to the financials this year. And I don't know if there's anything more you want to add, Lawrence.
All I can say, and I'm sure Brad will support this, as far as the audit is concerned, as far as the state is concerned, our assets is a huge part of the 50% of the if you don't have that right, it's just wrong.
Yes, because council is a very much asset heavy organisation. Assets are very much a core of our business. So we have to get the asset values right.
Gentlemen, is there a trend for financial people to move out of local government?
Yes, they're very hard to recruit. They're like hen's teeth. And we've tried very hard. We've advertised for the management accountant. I think we've gone through 3 rounds of advertising. The finance manager was at least 2 rounds, if not 3. And we finally have secured a director of corporate who has got all the credentials and is CPA registered, and I have great confidence that Avi will help the organisation navigate its way forward.
Well, thank you. Any further questions for Brad?
Brad, I'd just like to thank you. I think this is the last year Brad does our audit, Leeton Shire Council, because the Office of Local Government have taken you from us and given us to another auditor. So this is the last audit Brad is involved in. So thank you for your work. And and taking a very much an interest, more than just your work, your interest in our shire and understanding, I guess, the different elements of this. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Much
Thank you
appreciated.
then.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
Brad.
See you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Same to you.
All right. So what we'll do now, we'll go on to item 7.1. Spoken to, just a mover. That moved by Councillor Morris, second by Councillor Kidd. Any questions? I have some. You go first, Councillor Siska.
Oh, no, thank you. Just a question to the director, if I may. Luke, can you hear us?
Yes, yep.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. Yep, just in relation on page 9 to the water fund operating result. I just noticed over the last few years, there's been some real inconsistencies in our operating results. We've gone from almost $2 million in 2019 to, almost break even in the last financial year. Just wondering if you may be able to elaborate on some of those figures.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll do my best, Tony, but it might be better directed at finance. Some of the factors could be the revenue from water sales fluctuating. There could be capital works delivered at a higher volume in previous years. I don't know if the general manager has any more insight.
All right, so what are you, can you just, on what page are you referring to, Councillor Siska? I just,
Page 9.
page 9. Finance manager, are you able to?
Probably, I'd have to go and have a look as well. Probably one of the main things, and I believe 2019 was a fairly dry year, so it would have had very high fees and charges.
Yes.
Water sales.
Big difference there.
I've got a different set of books.
Hard copy.
Sorry, in our agenda.
I don't know this, but offhand, that's what I can think of.
Thanks, Councillor Siska. I've just got some questions in regards to the audit, the annual financial statements, just some clarification questions. On page 17 of the report, which is page 20, put in this document here, councillors. On there. And I'm just
Auditor to be here.
sorry?
For the auditor to be here.
No, maybe not. The question I ask is, you'll see their ordinary rates residential, and they've gone down from 2022 to 2023. I don't know that, I'm trying to work out the reason why that'd be the case.
What page is that again?
It's page 20 of the report. So page 20 of our report, which is page 17 of the auditor's report.
Please who?
Sources of income, annual rates and charges, ordinary rates, and you'll see that 2022 was 4478 and 2023 was 4214. And I would have thought there'd been finance manager, having an answer would be great.
The actual anomaly, for want of better terms, in 2022. In 2022, we corrected, changed the way we would recognising rates paid in advance. That is what's wrong.
Right. Thank you. And then the over the page on page 22, it alludes to Councillor Siska's matter there, the sale of investment water and town water have both fallen significantly the last 12 months, and obviously that's of course of weather.
Correct. Mayor.
Right. Thank you. And then on page 27, again, while I read that, our increases in interest investment income is by nearly $1 million on page 27. Interest, sorry?
B2-5.
Sorry, it's page 27, which is 24 of the report.
Yep.
And the, it's the interest and investment income.
Yeah.
That's
382 to 1.4.
I've got 2023, 1.522 to 446 in 2022, which is a significant increase. And I assume again, that's the increase in interest rates on that, on our cash reserves?
Yeah, so it's basically two problems. Effectively, yes, interest rates have gone through the roof. Where 12 months ago, we might have been able to get 0.4%. We're now looking at say 5%. Now, but that's just one factor. The other factor, as we pointed out, is we've got more money in the bank.
Yep.
So more money times the highest interest rate. It's very good. Hope it lasts.
All right, while you're on your feet, I just on this is one depreciation, it's one of my favourite subjects, which is page 28. You got that in front of you, page 28? And it's got depreciation, list plan and equipment. Then it goes down to capital work in progress in brackets impairment. Don't understand what that means.
Basically means that there was some money sitting, bit of background. How assets are constructed, particularly if you're going from 1 year to the next, so for instance, Roxy, multi-year project, it all goes into what's called a work in progress, or WIP account. Now, once the project is finished, then the value is moved from the work in progress to the asset account and starts to depreciate. This particular case, you will have recalled that there was a bill paid for some equipment.
Yep.
The supply went bust.
Yep. All right, okay, thank you. Thank you. I think that's it. What's this? Yeah, that's all I had for thank you. Councillor Sissia.
Just another one, Mr. Mayor, just on page, well, it's 26, I guess, of this report. Licenses and permits, been a massive increase. 60,000 to 278,000.
That's River and Regional Library.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Finance Manager. Any other questions from councillors? Councillor Sissia.
Yeah, I noticed the domestic waste was from the general fund, and just wondering how much of that 189 really goes to domestic waste as far as profit.
Through Mr. Mayor, domestic waste is ring fenced within the general fund. But I'll just again ask the finance manager if there's another angle to that question. So it's part of the general fund, but we can't use it for other purposes. So it's ring fenced.
Sorry, I have not any analysis.
So would it be fair to say we don't know what that ring fenced amount would be?
Yes, we do.
What we work it out is to have a look at the waste restriction for 2022 versus 2023. And different operating top. I can calculate it.
Under the general perspective.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just need to be reminded why the massive increase in the New South Wales Rural Fire Service levy on page 9, subsection B3-5, going from 72,000 up to 194,000.
General Manager, do you want to?
Everyone's got that.
Double, yeah,
Finance Manager, do you want to?
double plus half.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Not quite sure how to put it. They sent us a bill, we have to pay it. It was 74, then they sent another one for 192. So it has effectively gone up 120 odd thousand, which is half the rate payment.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, the cost is always there. It's gone up by CPI, but the New South Wales government subsidised the difference and they removed the subsidy. And so now council has to pay 100%.
So we'll pay for the stuff that we subsequently own, that we don't own.
No, that,
It's-
that's the different.
This is for the tidying with the insurance levies.
It's not so much RF, well, it's a bit incorporated in there, but it extends to SES services beyond RFS.
When you refer to they, who are you referring to, Finance Manager?
Bill comes through from the OMS, and it specifies a certain percentage for the maintenance staff or their contribution towards their salaries, towards a whole range of things. So my external manager stated, and I've forgotten, as yes, it had been subsidised, I think, for a few years. A couple of stuff. Then we just received a bill from the RFS. There is also SES. I think there might be something.
Is a third one.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Remember, sorry. But by far, RFS is there's probably 80% of the lot.
All right, thanks very much. Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was probably just bring to attention, which is a great position in strengthening our financial position. And it's regarding our assets that obviously increased. But most of it was.
Which page are you referring to?
What page are you on? Page 12 of the actual financials. And just with that, a lot of it came from about by revaluation of land. Obviously, the effects of COVID and things filtered right through. If you go to our the note 1-6, infrastructure, property, plant and equipment, you'll see that we had an increase of about 15 million. And a lot of it, interestingly enough, is driven by them increasing the value of our community land that we actually can't do anything with or charge a fee for. So, but you know, it puts a great strong position on our financial position. But you just have to remember sometimes it's the valuations of those things and how they're interpreted.
All right, thank you.
So thank you.
Any final questions?
Just one more.
Councillor Sissia.
Mayor,
Certainly.
to the manager, just in regard to the economic development income on page 15, or 15, I think, sorry, 15. Yeah, it went from basically 0 to 797. I'm just wondering where the 797 income come from. Page 15. Went from like.
Yeah, 2,797. Sorry, I think I
Okay.
probably some grant income related to director.
And for you to say,
Certainly.
that was the Office of Local Government grant funding that we received for bands.
Yeah, Councillor Sissia.
Yeah, if that's what it is.
Thank you. Any final questions at all? Oh, we've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Holt, you're against? Want that recorded?
Perfect.
Carried. Right, item 7.2 on page 22 is a 6 monthly delivery program progress report, Q1, 2023-2024. Move with that, please. Moved by Councillor Morris. Second by Councillor Kidd. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do just regarding, I guess, if there's any further update, and it's regarding 1.13, and that's our advocacy for the improved health services. So that we've been identified to be part of a program, and I just wondered, Mr Mayor, seeing you're on that committee, is it getting some traction, and are we going to see it come to fruition in the short term?
Our next meeting, I can tell you straight away, 26th of March, 2024. It's called the Collaborative Care Discussions, and they're coming to Leeton on that day to further progress the idea of it all.
And have we got any idea of what they're actually targeting? Is there any specific health area that they're targeting?
Yeah, it's across the board, and they want to improve health services for Leeton Shire. The program has been brought into a number of country areas, I think called the 5 Ts. It's up there, Bingo or somewhere, but there's a few places around. I think maybe even Stony Mountains do it as well. And what it is, it's about, and correct me if I'm wrong here, General Manager, it's about engaging the local health services to be, I suppose, in a spirit of cooperation to work towards improving health outcomes for the community. Now, we've had a million meetings over the last few years, the hospital, Councillor Sissy has as well. I'm really optimistic that this one might be fair income. The people involved are people who can make decisions, who've got access to money. I'm very, very cautious about it, but I'm hoping it's going to be a positive outcome.
So is it with the hospital system and other medical services in our shire?
Doctors, yeah.
Sounds very.
Now trying to get doctors to go to the hospital. All that sort of stuff.
It's been something the community's been crying out for. So
and so has the council for years.
Yep.
Yeah.
So well done on getting to this point.
Well, don't say well done yet.
Oh, well, we've been selected, so we're
Yeah.
journey. So
Any comments made there, General Manager?
thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the only other comment is the actual direction that this will take will come out of the collaborative communication between the Murrumbidgee Local Health District, the PHN, the council and the Rural Doctors Network have got a role to play as well. And they advise us that no two towns or shires are the same. Each one develops its own journey and its own solution. So it's as we analyse our local situation and look for local solutions, we then will be relying on them to help us bring together some sort of result. Of course, you can have all the plans in the world, attracting workforce and having enough workforce out there is a really big challenge. And if you go to country mayors, you can hear the pain across rural New South Wales. Everybody's asking for what we're asking for and everybody's finding it's pretty short. So, yeah.
No, thank you. And keep up the good work of advocacy on behalf of council for our community.
Certainly. Any further questions? Councillor Maiden, would like
Yep, I've just got a question.
page.
It is page 51.4.3. The Director of Economic and Community Development, just in relation to the housing strategy. So it's, I suppose, in relation to Brobina Road and Bernarambah Street, particularly the Brobina Road area. I see that that's in the final stages. When should we expect the completion of the strategy?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're looking at getting some grant funding, applying for some grant funding to finalise the actual design for that for Brobina Road with the precincts and partnerships program. So we're looking to move that forward in a few months.
Okay, thank you.
And through Mr. Mayor, could I just ask the director to differentiate? So that's for Brobina. The housing strategy is a slightly different project. Can you just advise the difference?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, the housing strategy, the draft will be presented to the manager of planning, building, health and myself tomorrow, and be coming back to council workshop later on next month. With what they're looking at doing is actually looking at the growth areas within the town. So mapping that out where the growth areas are in the town, what they're currently zoned at, do we need to rezone, all of those sort of things. So the housing strategy will come back to council next month and then go out.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I've just got a couple of quick ones. One for the your role again is. Thank you. Wonderful. We spoke before about I asked last meeting, I think, about the Reconciliation Action Plan, and you said it's coming done by June or July this year. Is that still on track?
That's the plan. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And just one other question, really easy one, perhaps the General Manager. I noticed there's been 25 instances of vandalism across the Shire. Do all those matters get reported to the police?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to actually ask Gideon to assist with that. I think we only report very significant ones. If somebody, trashes a toilet seat, whatnot, we probably just go in and replace it rather than report it to the police. But where we have persistent problems or major problems, then we will. And it's, what's your previous experience? Yep.
Major issues have been taken, to the police. But we found that with the minor ones, graffiti and that sort of thing, the response times and the actual, results basically, amounts to nothing.
Yeah, all right. I suppose just my point there is we have meetings with the police and they say there's no problems around town. And we all know there's stuff happening and they always say it's not getting reported. But I just wonder, you don't have, like, some of that minor stuff can just be done online. At least it's a step there that there has been that's a personal view, that's not a mayor's view, but you know what I mean?
No, if it's as simple as lodging a record online, I'm sure we could get our building services and rangers when they come across graffiti to lodge it online. But if we were looking for the police to come and investigate, they wouldn't.
No,
Yeah,
I get that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Most of the vandalism caught on our CCTV, the footage gets downloaded and taken to,
All right, thanks very much for that. That's all I had. Any further questions? Councillor Sissia.
I'm not sure who to direct this one to. Just in regard to our CCTV coverage, is there any intent to increase that, given the number of sort of vandalism that we still have going on in the town?
I'm through you, Mr. Mayor. This could be a topic of discussion, our next capital budget for the next financial year. If council has over the last few years systematically increased the footprint.
Yep.
And so that's definitely a topic that should be on the table if council wishes to expand it further.
Yep, and just one more, probably for Gideon, I guess. Just on page 18, 2.5, just in regard to redevelopment of the Roxy. Yes. Now, project stage 1 is tracking well and practical completion is expected in June 2024. What is practical? What will that look like? Just stage 1. Yep. So people can go in and watch a movie? Essentially they can, yes. Yep. Right, that's fine. Thank you.
We'll still be building next door.
Yeah, but yeah.
Use the toilet, turn
Right, thank you. Any other questions?
Jump.
Oh, we've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.3. It's the. Can I get? Okay, certainly, thank you. Is the Roxy Community Theatre Stage 1 build and budget update? I move that, moved by Councillor Kidd. Second by Councillor Morris. That's on page 99, sorry. Any questions? Councillor Sissia.
Just in regard to the or the 3 members and those that may have been removed from the.
Yeah, I saw the same thing there.
I was just wondering if those people were how they were informed or that they will no longer be on the.
They have either they've mostly voluntarily left the committee, so they've just not attended. Only one member has not invited back.
Yeah, that's fine. It just wasn't.
They landed up in they were incarcerated, so couldn't come back. Yeah.
It's not a bad excuse.
Yeah.
Any questions, Councillor?
Just I saw I think it was in Leeton News, the Red Velour seats were out at the second-hand shop here.
Yeah.
My understanding that they were going to be sold on to raise funds.
That's correct.
So did we sell them on, and if we did, what sort of monies did we get?
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor. Step 1 was to advertise them locally. Step 2 was to advertise them with pickles. So the step 1 delivered some level of results, and see if Gideon can remember the number of
$1
of $500 came in. It was a grand small number. Step two, we went to Pickles. Pickles said they weren't interested in it. So we went to a second auction house that Pickles referred us to. They were also not interested in it. So we offered it to the men's shed. The men's shed, said they don't have the time and resources. So we've now offered it to the recycling centre to sell. We would, if we can't, unfortunately, other theatres aren't in a position to buy it because they're not fire compliant. So that's why they were removed, because we can't put them back because they don't meet compliance for fire rating.
Fair enough.
So we've got a very small market and we'll keep trying. There's a lot of them there, but at the moment, at least the recycling centre is willing to try and move them on.
The other issue was, remember the photo I sent you about all the bricks being put into the skip?
Yeah.
All the face brickwork. Since then, Gideon advised me they've been sold on at $2 each to the demolition contractor. I had a conversation with the demolition contractor and he said that he has salvage rights, doesn't pay for them, but he gets about $6 a brick in Melbourne cleaned and sold on to Federation Renovation.
Yes, I think I've always been under the understanding from Gideon that the demolition chap had salvage rights.
That's correct.
And the $2 was the figure that Gideon was suggesting we would sell the bricks for here locally if we had any spare.
Not the conversation I recollect.
Well, I wasn't there. Gideon was there.
That's correct. Salvage rights, employed the demolition contractor. Then when there was a photo taken of the skip, that was him recycling those bricks on his own. There was 2,000 pallets set aside that was going to be sold at $2 a brick, which are currently at the depot.
Oh, so we haven't given away whole as bolus because those bricks are over 100 years old and could garner far more than $6 a brick.
We have 2,000 bricks, and that was the figure that was kept aside. And what that means that the bricks came out there with mortar and plaster and everything
to them
was cleaned on site, which the demolition contractor had to do himself as part of his reclamation work.
Just another comment. He mentioned to me too that there was some infill brickwork that went back in that was to be rendered, but they used the old face bricks. Why didn't we just purchase cheap commons as a cost offset?
Internal be rendered, external.
All right, no worries. Clarification.
Thanks, Councillor Holm. Councillor Kidd.
Just by way of a comment, the red seats in the Roxy were not Roxy originals. They came from a St James Theatre in Sydney.
And Hayes.
Well, eventually. They are actually older than the Roxy. I think the St James Theatre was built in 1927, thereabouts. Then went to Hay, were refurbished. Many of them again in their lifetime here, as Councillor Maiden would be well aware, and some reupholstered. And apart from the fire stuff, a lot of them, the frames are broken and whatnot. But there's certainly, from a Leeton perspective, there's no historical value in them with regard to the Roxy. They're a relatively recent addition, 1976, I think.
What's that?
I'd have to check with
50 years.
I'd have to check with Bill Barwick, but where they were third hand when we got them. So there are a number of issues with them, and very few were really top quality and good enough to be sold on at any reasonable remuneration.
All right.
There's probably collectors out there that are interested.
Thank you. Councillor Maiden.
Just a quick one. There's obviously that recommendation that we discussed with the 3 new members. Is there scope for additional councillors to go on that committee or just to attend?
Council can attend any committee they want.
Yeah, and I know that's been stated. So I guess is there a way just to be included in the invites for that?
Make sure if we can make sure all councillors are notified if you would like to attend.
I did ask Catherine about that with regard to yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing's.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah. That would, if possible. I'd like to attend.
Our meeting Monday night.
Thank you. Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate, I think those virtual tours have been fantastic. They've been well thought out. I think it gives a great insight to the community with different presenters each time. So congratulations on that. I think people can actually see what's happening from the outside. Obviously, they're thinking things aren't happening, but there's a ton of work occurring inside. So we look forward to that completion of that stage one and yeah, getting closer. So I guess I'm inviting the Roxy project manager if there's anything that he'd like to update us on particularly, or everything's covered in the report.
Mr Mayor, I think most of it's covered in the report, except that that was done on the 20th of Feb. So maybe just a note to make is we had difficulties with the trade regarding mechanicals, which has subsequently been solved by a local contractor. And the install has started with regards to the mechanical. That was the 2-week delay that was in the report.
Well, that started.
It has started. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions? Well, we've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Holt, want that recorded? It's carried. Thank you. Councillor Weston, you right to return.
Oh, he's there anyways. Yep.
Mr Mayor, may I be excused?
Certainly.
Let's get in.
Thank you.
We're going on, just item 7.4 and 7.5. We'll be able to combine those.
Yeah.
So Is there a word for that?
In toto.
Toto.
Just think of Wizard Boy.
All right. So what I'll do, I'll have someone, do we have to move that goes in toto first?
No, you can just make that call as chair.
Right, okay. We're going in toto for item 7.4 and 7.5. The investment reports for December 2023, page 107, and for January 2024 on page 123. Those, all moved by Councillor Kidd, second by Councillor Smith. You would note on your table, there's a amendment for 7.5. And tagged there, there's an updated figure. Page 3. There, councillors.
Page 3.
Investment report for January 2024.
Oh.
Page 3, it's highlighted in yellow.
Oh, this one?
It's a new figure.
$60.
Right, any questions?
Mr Mayor, just want to thank Councillor Ciccio again.
All right.
It was an accidental incorporation of a brokerage fee into a sale.
Yes.
I'd be a broker that gives me extra money.
You should do that bloody accountancy course, sorry. This year.
I do have a question about Mr Mayor. I just want to note that why we delayed the sale of the water, I just want to emphasise, if you look at page 109, where the temporary prices looked at in the December report, it was 155. Then if you turn to 125, when we move to the January one, go to $40 a meg. And this seems to be a common theme that we hold back on trading a lot of our water. And I think we're missing an opportunity not selling the water earlier. And as we talk tonight, I think the water's down as low as $10 a meg.
Yeah.
Even hard to sell.
Oh, sorry.
General Manager.
Well, through Mr Mayor, the main reason was in December, the price had actually come down from the months before, and it had been forecast we were going to have a very hot January, and the expectation, I suppose, was that water prices would go up again, but they didn't. And the weather didn't go according to what the BOM was predicting. So
I think what we've got to realise is that farmers can only afford to pay so much for their water while they're growing crops. They like to use as much of their own as they can, and then maybe top up with a little bit to finish their crops, or maybe put in a little bit of extra. And the usage is around $20 a meg for your own water. So you can't realistically go out and buy lots of water for 150 just nothing left in it for you. So I think, yeah, you got to look at other factors as well, not only just how old it's going to be.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, yeah, it's just something I wanted to point out anyway.
Timing is critical. We did get offered, we got a call from a broker offering to sell water in South Australia, which sits outside our policy. So I said no, but I think as we're getting closer to the end of the sale year, for want of another way of putting it, maybe we should consider those options and realise as much value as possible.
Thank you.
Councillor Holt. Oh, sorry, Councillor Morris. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just going to just further on from Councillor Sissia's concern. It was interesting. I heard something recently on an agricultural report and saying exactly that, the Bureau of Meteorology, we all rely on it so much, looking especially 6 and 12 months out in advance. And sure, it's not a bulletproof, the exact science, but the impact it's actually had on agriculture and water pricing and exactly these things, it's going to affect Australia quite substantially because people either haven't planted as much as they thought due to water pricing or not having enough water. So we're actually going to see some big impacts. And I think this, unfortunately, for us, which would be in a revenue stream, is a direct impact. But it certainly made sense. It's bigger than Leeton Shire Council, unfortunately, the effects of it all. I guess on the upside, though, we've had a good win with interest rates that have, returned to some normalcy. So we certainly have picked up there. But yes, if we can seize the moment, of course, with opportunities, we need to take them going forward.
Well, thank you. Councillor Holt.
Just on that, contradictory to what Councillor Morris said, would it be prudent for us then to say, let's suspend selling the water because we can't get the prices? And let's monitor it again. Because the little amount we get, I think administratively it'd get gobbled up.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think council should realise every cent it can. We should keep enough for carryover for the next year because the prices surely have to go surely from where they are now. So having enough for carryover would be prudent, but we normally land up carrying that over through our town supply where we keep a buffer anyway. I think that this is real cash. Even though it's a low amount, it's better to sell it and get money in the bank than to not. And it's not a very onerous task administratively.
Yeah, well, see, as you said, 100 megs is $1,000.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem to me to be, and as you say, every cent counts. But I think administratively, just the whole sell process would probably squander that.
You'd still come out on the right side.
Well, Councillor Sisia.
I'll just add on to what the general manager said. I don't know if Councillor Holt's aware, we can't carry over whole water. We can only carry over a percentage of general security, about 30%. So that's the reason why we just can't carry it all over. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any further questions about our in toto item matters?
Oh, Mr Mayor, just want to, one other thing, in a drought year, we actually made most of our money in January and February in the drought years than we did before Christmas. It's it is honestly, it's like looking into a crystal. I mean, you can make some informed decisions, but gosh, there's a lot of it's not something that you can rely on.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7.6 is the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting, 9th of February 2024. A move for that, please. Moved by Councillor Kidd, second by Councillor Morris.
Mr Mayor, could
Certainly.
we please recognise as a late item, the ARIC chairman
Oh, yeah, right,
provided
yes, I've got that in front of me. All right.
oversight today.
On in front of you there, councillors, is the chairman's report dated the 19th, but we only received it today. I'm not making any comment about that, but we've got to say nice. Any questions? What news it is? All right, so just procedural thing here. I need someone to move that we accept the chairman's report as a late item. Moved by Councillor Holt and second by Councillor Weston. Thank you. All those in favour? Yep.
Lovely dialogue here that uses the word surplus.
We all do. Any questions or comments? Councillor Morris.
Thank you. Look, I'll just comment, I'm just seeing these minutes, sorry, the chairman's.
Yep, correct.
But it is a summary of, the meeting as such and reflects it in the minutes that are in our agenda. I mean, I guess he alluded very much to, as, our auditor did, about the receiving a lot of grant funding in advance, and it's already committed along the way. One of the things which will actually come up in our next agenda item, but I just want to touch on, is about the new ERIC guidelines, which is very important, and I don't think everyone understands the effect it will have, and the I guess the Office of Local Government haven't given regional councils in particular any resourcing and the cost that it will bear to us. Just another imposition, and out here in regional New South Wales, unfortunately, I see it as a lot easier for the city councils, but I think a lot of regional councils have recognised it's going to be quite onerous, but happy to talk to that at
Next item
7.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Weston.
Same comment about general fund, and he's highlighted that area there. Now we've got to be some thinking about the general fund going forward. We live on grants.
Thank you. Councillor Cissy, do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, just in relation to our borrowings, I note that during 2022-23, we didn't have any new borrowings. When are we expecting to draw down on some of the loans, like whether it be the Roxy, or will that be in the next financial year, or like?
Through Mayor, I expect it to be in next financial year, because we've got a lot of grant money that we're using at the moment, and so we probably can, and Lawrence has gone to just confirm that, but when it gets to this end of the financial year, you can often only draw down the loan after the 1st of July. So I'm not expecting it to be drawn down this year, because we do have enough unrestricted cash to help us at the moment. Would that be a correct statement, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7.7 on page 144 is setting up a new ARIC to comply with the guidelines for risk management and internal audit for local government New South Wales. Move to that, please. Moved by Councillor Morris, seconded by Councillor Weston. I had the same question as you, Councillor Morris, and I've got a note here. Obviously, it's just a new state government cost that's being put onto us. Is that a fair summation of it?
That would be fair to say, because we have a perfectly good ARIC at the moment, in my view, but they've made it more onerous, more compliance, and required people to have certain credentials. So yes, all of those things together definitely make for a more expensive activity for council.
And there's an expected remuneration for those members on that.
There's still, yes, there is. There's still the small chance of, you know, we might find local people with the right skills who are prepared to volunteer.
Yep.
So we'll still offer people that option, but you won't find many ARICs in New South Wales anymore where all the members aren't getting paid.
Councillor Kidd.
Just a comment to that, just the way I've read it, one of my dangers, apart from the fact it's adding to their costs on the general fund, is that, you know, as the general manager said, it's pretty unlikely we'll find it on the local, and you'll find that your audit risk committee, I mean, maybe they're supposed to be independent. A lot of them have a clue where Leeton will even be. We're contracting people from all over the state, and, you know, gunfire and no real interest or commitment to our community, which worries me. At least we'll have a councillor member on there, though they're non-voting.
Can't vote. Councillor Weston.
For you, Mr. Chair, maybe I'll ask Councillor Morris to help me. Would it be a better animal? Will it be better?
Are you okay, Mr. Fairweigh?
Certainly, yep.
I'm not sure if it's going to be any better. I think probably councillor just alluded to it. So our existing committee, as such, our two independents now, which one is a professional engineer and one is a professional IT person, are no longer eligible. Me as the councillor no longer has voting rights. So you actually have no one from the actual organisation that has a vested interest in what they're actually auditing, or for, you know, and it's not just audit, it's audit risk and improvement committee. So it's understanding the business. So I see that as a danger. If you have a little even glance now at the roles and responsibilities, they're quite, they're increased dramatically. So people are going to have a fear of even putting their hand up to come on. They're quite particular in skills that you have to have, which I think is heavily skewed, which I agree to a certain degree with financial and accounting means. But you also, let's face it, councils with is made up of many segments, and whether it's IT, whether it's human resources, whether it's engineering matters. So I think, you know, you need people with a whole vast, varied range to be on there. But the way it's written, it's very skewed now to being either a CPA or a CA before you're even doing it. The amount of time and commitment is the expectation that we're putting them out. What we're able to pay is quite minimal, and I see that there'd be people that are not interested to take on the responsibility for receiving $1,000 4 times a year. You've got to put that in perspective with their own risk. What they, as well as that, we have to engage an internal audit. So someone external who will do internal audits on it constantly. So it's another cost, as the mayor alluded to. So I don't think they've thought, even though we did put in a submission to Office of Local Government New South Wales, you know, alluding to regional areas that are going to cause us concern, resourcing. And that was the one thing, you know, there's no contribution of resourcing or giving us any, you know, cost recompense. So will it serve our council any better? I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, I can't really comment on that, but I just find it, I've never seen an organisation where you don't have an audit and risk committee that someone that isn't, you know, on the board is not entitled to vote. That's really interesting. So that's a very bizarre approach they're taking.
All right.
But unfortunately, it's gazetted to us and we don't get a choice.
Thank you. Any further comments, councillors? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We go to item 7.8 on page 234, which is the date change for the 2024 May ordinary council meeting. Move for that at all? Moved by councillor Sissia and seconded by councillor Smith. Any comments or questions about that? Straightforward, I would think. I've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Page 236 is the item 7.9, which is a debt recovery policy review. A move for that, please. Moved by councillor Kidd, by councillor Weston. I think I had one question for you, that one. I did. Just on page 5 of the policy and page 243 of our report. The item there in yellow, if account remains unpaid by the due date, then a council 14-day reminder notice will be sent. I don't think we're there, like, what happens after, how much time do people get after 14 days before, you know what I mean? Is that just up to us, or is that, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. we have deliberately kept 6.13 slightly open.
Yep.
Because different people have different circumstances and situations, and this council has previously wanted staff as
Yep, I agree with,
compassionately
yeah.
with
I think we all
people
agree
as
with that.
possible.
Yep.
So if, you know, if there was a big company in town that was just repeatedly not paying their rates, it would, you know, it would probably, I'm just
Yeah,
making that up as
yeah.
an example. It's not a real one. You know, you'd probably get to the point of just referring them on to the debt collectors. Whereas if it was, you know, someone that needed a bit of nurturing to understand how it all works, then that's the point of why this has been inserted.
Yep.
With inviting ratepayers to make payment plans if necessary.
So it's purposefully been left open for, so we can negotiate with ratepayers.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Holt?
And also, we've shifted from $600 chasing to 1,000, so there's a bit of benevolence there.
Yeah.
So it just shows anybody that is in financial hardship that we're willing to open our ears up. We're not going to go 14 days.
Thanks.
So, well, unfortunately, debt recovery's contract is coming to get you.
Yep, yeah, thank you. I agree. Councillor Morris?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm sorry, and I only noticed this last night. I didn't advise anyone, but there's just an amendment that needs to occur on page 5 of the policy.
Yep.
Which is page 243 of the our agenda.
Yep.
Just those quarterly instalment dates. We've mentioned the 28th of Feb up the top, and then we've just got the 8th of Feb. So perhaps we just need to put those in line.
Yep, that's,
Makes sense.
yes, thank
Yeah.
you for
Sorry,
spotting that.
just need to be tidy up.
Because these dates are prescribed by the Office of Local Government, so we'll make sure that, so there's a 2 missing in front of that 8.
Yes, sorry, it's just a small matter, but yeah, we need
There's it
to
up in the first paragraph.
Spotting that,
Thank
yeah.
All right, any further questions, comments?
Just a
Councillor, yeah, Councillor Sissia.
comment. I think we're very fortunate in our shire that always not happily, most of our residents, you know, do pay their rates
Yep.
fees all on time. So I think look at what's outstanding at times. It's very minimal over the whole. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Credit to our residents.
it is though, I must say, you'll see it in the next quarterly budget review, Mr Mayor, it's not looking as good as it used to look.
Okay, all right.
So unfortunately, and I suspect that's a reflection of the times with finances being the way they are.
For you, Mr Mayor, can I just elaborate on that? Is that mainly resident, business or farm or farm?
Can't tell you. I was just given the bottom line number, yeah.
All right, thank you. Any more comments? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7.10 and 7.11, they're for discussion on the business, but there's some slides that are in the confidential papers as well. It's a little bit confusing. What I'm going to propose to do is I'll skip 10 and 11, leave those to last, and then we can decide whether to speak about openly or go into confidential discussion about that. So I'll go on to item 7.12 on page.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, 711 draft asset management.
What did I say? 7.10, power purchase
Yes, so
agreement.
that one.
Yep.
Said 7.10 and 7.11.
Yep,
So 7.11 definitely just,
so it's only 7.10.
it's just 7.10.
Oh, sorry, it's my.
Yep.
7.10. So we'll go to item 7.11 on page 253, which is the draft asset management plan. The move for that, please, moved by councillor Kidd and by councillor Holt. Bear with me one moment.
Put in the draft asset.
Sorry, I'm with you now. I'm caught up. Any questions or comments? Councillor Morris.
I did have a comment because I think that might lead to why our cash reserves or more our investments are heading where they need to. When I looked through the whole 3 policies, we've got a big renewal demand in the next 10 years. And of all of them seemed to have major works that needed to be attended to, and especially looking forward to the future. You know, we spoke of the housing strategy, ways our town might expand, and these are all major features of it, being transport access, wastewater and sewage. And they all of them had major infrastructure, and I'm talking some, there was only the transport that were probably on target, allocating enough money aside to meet all the demands, but certainly the water, the wastewater, and we're going to fall behind. Now, at that time, there may be grants available that will assist us with it, but it's certainly, you know, we've got some water asset replacement that is going to be big works that need to be done in the next 10 years for us to have a great quality of, you know, great quality those services for our community. I'm sure that contributes to why we're, you know, investing so, accumulating in our investments to cater for those things, and certainly where our reserves are growing. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Holt.
Just to comment on that, as it's stated in our assets, we'll be looking at a major, probably renewal in terms of new water filtration plant, which forecast to get more people in the town, so it's our fresh water supplies. But in saying that too, not just the treatment works, but all the underground infrastructure. Because there's mention there in regards to that they're asbestos line pipes, the older ones.
Oh.
So while they're wet, they're inert. The biggest risk is replacing them for our staff when they use demolition saws, etc. But they wet them down. But that's something is it addressed in our long-term financial plan? The fact that we'll have to go down that path?
Yeah, most definitely, and Councillor Holt has mentioned the exact purpose of what these asset management plans are about. They are about informing our team's long-term financial plan.
I can see it. I can see shift maybe positively in terms of development coming as in residential subdivision. I think the costing difference is being very prohibitive for people. But then again, at the end of the day, whoever the developer is, they mark their own prices, don't they?
Oh, thank you. Councillor Weston.
I'm not too sure it's in this report or a different report where it forecasts the population going from 11,000 to 2,000, I think. I'm worried about, we are thinking about growth, which way we go with growth, which way we go with the sewage and water and so forth. If we're talking about a population growth in next time, hopefully alongside that, we've got some sort of thinking about where we're going to do with our infrastructure.
Yeah, and we certainly have that through you, Mr. Mayor. And so it starts with our community strategic plan, which I suppose that was an aspirational figure, but in developing this housing strategy, that's been honed into, and I don't know if the Director of Economic Development, can you recall off the top of your head what the population growth projection is, or?
Not off the top of my head, no, but I think it was when it was 600 odd houses within the next 20 years.
Something like that, yeah. We can triple check those numbers, but definitely these, and I'll ask the Director Ops through you, Mr. Mayor, if he would like to comment as well, but these asset management plans are looking at business as usual, just keeping that up to date, and then sort of growth is a small component of that. As we do our strategic planning for water and sewer extension in order to accommodate what this housing strategy, for example, is going to reveal, that will then, you know, future iterations of these plans might see even bigger components identified for future growth. But the Director might have something to say about Councillor Weston's ask.
Thank you, General Manager. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of population growth, the General Manager answered that very accurately. So these plans are looking at what we need to deliver based on today's data. When in the event that the town was to grow, the plans would have to evolve. Now, in relation to Councillor Morrison's comment about the funding ratios, the way that we're planning to fund our transport assets is at 102%. Now, if you go through the document, you'll see there's some overfunding and underfunding depending on what in particular assets we're talking about. So hypothetically, footpaths might be overfunded and curb and gutter might be underfunded. These plans will then feed back into the LTFP and make those adjustments just to balance it out. So that's the purpose of these documents. As we get into water in particular, we know the Leeton water filtration plant was built in the 1930s. It's heritage listed and it's not at capacity, but in 10 years' time, it likely will be, and it'll be in need of a major refurbishment. So that would help, well, that would skew the figures. And what I mean by that is the current funding ratio is sitting at 37% for water, which is very daunting. But when you factor in what the future looks like over a 10-year period, there's an explanation behind it. The last thing I'll add is these documents are the literature. So it's the written explanation of the science that's behind the scenes. So there's a number of spreadsheets and a lot of data behind these documents. And that's basically how the funding ratios, the asset conditions, and the future needs are projected.
Thank you. Councillor Kidd.
Along with what the manager's just said, those figures for replacement and improvement of water filtration plant are already figured into the long-term plan.
As we know, Councillor Kidd, 10 years' time, those figures are redundant.
Well, they may be redundant, but we are putting the money aside and planning that as it is now. What you find with your water pipes, particularly in your part of town, where most of the asbestos and the mild steel pipes are, we've been relining those pipes for many years now, which reduces a great deal of the problem. And
were we relining the water supply or just?
Oh, you'll have to go through the meeting.
Just you finish your.
What I was going to say is that there was also a press release that Terry put out about a week ago, where we have been funded to do studies on infrastructure. So we're talking water, sewage, and transport links that will be necessary to further expand the town, looking towards that figure of 500-600 extra houses in the medium term that the manager was referring to. And yeah, that's.
Councillor Holt, you had a question, sorry?
No, just comment on. I think I made it.
Copy that.
During dialogue. I'm sorry.
Are you all right? Okay. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Sisia.
Just one for the director, just in relation to the water filtration plant. I note that in.
Which page?
Oh, sorry, page 47 of this report. Yeah. Or 302 of the total agenda.
Sorry, Councillor, what page was?
302.
302, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I do note that we've factored in potentially for a replacement or renewal 2030. Page 47, I note probably in 7 or 8 years, we're going to be spending quite a lot on maintenance. So I'm just wondering if it's not in our interest to bring that renewal forward a bit. Given how much we're going to be spending, like we're going from 400,000 to potentially 4.8 million.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll go back a step. So at the moment, we know that there's a general need to do something with the water treatment plant, but we don't have the detail on exactly what that looks like. So what the plan is in next year's capital works budget is to do a master planning study to identify all of our options and give us some preliminary costings. So that's essentially the first step we need to take. Once that process is complete, naturally we'll then go into detailed design and look to progress. So I agree with your comments, Councillor Sisia. I think we just need to go through a bit of a process to enable us to be in a position to make decisions. So that will start in next financial year.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Councillor Holt,
Just to comment on that to
Director.
the director, I'm going to use his first name. So here it has also got the storage dams. I would assume that 600 forecast houses is going to have a substantial effect on our storages. So in regards to the $375,000 over the next 10 years, would you agree that it'd be a fair figure, or 600 houses which typically hold 4 people is another 2,400 people? Have we got the volume there, or are we going to have to look at either extending that storage facility or implementing a new one that is assisted to the current one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So to paint the picture of how our water supply currently works, we have 2 sources of raw water. So we pump directly out of the channel, and we also have a water storage dam. So we've currently got two avenues for water. The figure that's nominated in the asset management plan would be for desilting and maintaining the existing dam. So it wouldn't be for expanding. Now, if some of the documentation produced by our planning department advises us that growth is going to require that, the plans again would have to be adjusted to align.
Would there be consideration? I know it's that Lake Paddock would be developed.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I say it's speculative, but would there be a consideration for water storage in Lake Paddock? Which connects with the MIA Social Club and boundaries onto Golfview Estate and the golf course?
Some.
To answer your question,
the reason why I ask that, Luke, is that it sort of centralises it with the refurbishment of the water filtration, and then have a water storage there sort of centralises the whole thing, and it sort of it would be a positive development in terms of getting water to be filtrated to get out to our different or newer subdivisions.
Well, just for your answer, I'm not saying it's good or a bad idea, but I don't know, maybe it's for a discussion for another night, maybe. I'll reckon a workshop on that one. Has come up in the past, I know, but certainly that could be added as a workshop.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that what we have and we have funding for it now, is actually we've got $220,000 of grant money to help do strategic planning around the growth of the town, and that includes sewer and water services. So I think that process will, explore a whole lot of different options, and then all those options can be brought back to council. We're probably talking a year away, not in coming weeks or months.
You happy with that, Councillor? Happy with that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Luke.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. That place was going to be place of the lake was going to be there before we went out to 5 hours to get for a lake. We went back there, but there was proposed to be a lake there. Way back in
Burley Griffin's original plans, I believe, as well.
Just a comment.
No, I've heard that before, actually. Well, thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Sisia?
Just a question for the director, if I may. Luke, just in regard to water and sewage, which at the moment are sitting at funding of about 37% and 68% respectively, do you think potentially we could run into safety or compliance or health issues, given the funding's well below the renewal?
That's what those numbers are for.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Right here, right now, as in the short-term foreseeable future, no. Long-term, if we don't make some adjustments to how we're funding those asset categories, potentially. The biggest concern would be if by 2030, 2031, we hadn't done something with our water filtration plant. I see that as a risk in the horizon. In the short term, no.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions?
Just got one for the general manager, if I may.
Yep.
Mayor. Just in regard to the long-term financial plan, we haven't, as we speak tonight, we haven't actually got a validated long-term financial plan. Is that right? And a lot of these renewals are based on, the long-term financial plan, I guess.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's actually the other way around. So we have an adopted long-term financial plan from June last year that relied on strategic asset management plans, which were high-level documents. You might recall Ben Lawson. Does that name ring a bell? He was working with the engineers to create the first step towards asset management plans. Over the last year, Luke and his team have drilled down into more detail using a new system that we acquired a couple of years ago called Asset Finder, now called Univeris, where we're crunching the numbers at a far more detailed level, so that these numbers that you're seeing tonight will inform the next iteration of the asset management plan, which we hope to get to you around April this year.
Okay.
At least for a workshop. Yep.
Thank you. All right, there's no more questions. We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We go to item 7.12 on page 460. Is the draft curbside collection policy. Moved by Councillor Weston, seconded by Councillor Kidd. Any comments or questions? The only thing I just wanted to say, I know that in other council areas there's been a bit of, we've retained the same size red bin, the garbage bin, and I think that's been a very positive thing to do. There's issues other councils with the smaller red bin. There's only half the size, and they tell me if you've got a couple of kids with nappies like Councillor Smith has, in all sorts of trouble.
Just the one.
So the comments, so that's something positive for our community.
Bring some neighbours.
All right. Any questions or comments about that? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Page 472. Item 7.13 is the Leeton Water Slide Project Review. Move for that, please. Moved by Councillor Kidd, second by Councillor Nardi. Any questions or comments? All right, Councillor Kidd, yes.
Just that it's wonderful to see that's coming almost perfectly on budget. And it seems to be a major new community asset and getting a lot of positive comments. That's what we've wanted. That's what we've got.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Holt?
Just in contradiction to Councillor Kidd, we had the mishap with the standard structure that was a lot cheaper. Unfortunately, we've blown it out to whatever its cost was, plus whatever we agreed to. I think it was the $900,000 one, wasn't it? So is that revised budget of 937.79 correct? Because have we recouped that money back from that failed slide?
Through Mr. Mayor, this report is only about the Swimplex project that was adopted by council after the failed slide through OmniStrut. So the report is misleading. It's the actual cost of the project that was managed by council for stage 2. If you're looking for the costs associated with the original swimming pool build, which included the first slide, which was the slide from India that wasn't complying to Australian standards. That's included in that project's costs. That project was $5.5 million. And we withheld money for various reasons from the builder. And it took us to adjudication, and the adjudicator forced council to pay. So
And then the legal advice was that for not to contest the fact that we paid it.
Correct.
Would cost us more money.
So the intent of this report is entirely about the Swimplex project, but council passed a separate resolution about this project, and that's what that report's about.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd just like to say, I think our pools, the Leeton Regional Aquatic Centre is a wonderful facility. I encourage everyone to use it to its full capacity. I think it's an asset to our town. I challenge your councillors to go down those slides. I'd like to see a show of hands of those who have partaken. But no, it's fantastic. And look, it's there for our community to use. As I pointed out recently, it's an asset that I think is it's a cheap outing, I might say, when you think of you've got free barbecues available, table and chair seating, free slide usage, a junior, you know, a kiddie water park and things, and we need to be proud of it and make use of it. And I have heard those that have had swimming carnivals there and out of town carnivals, and they've been very impressed with our facilities. So it's up to us to spread the good news in the community, encourage everyone to make full use of it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now Councillor Nardi.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a quick question in regards to the shade sale. Is that going on the secondary tower below where the blue top shade sale is?
True, Mr Mayor, it's the one that's already up. It's the one that's installed already. It's not
Okay, so it's just a later payment that has come through.
so it wasn't in the original scope, so they had to add it, and that's
So
why.
it's not a secondary one for the
No.
second level. Thank you.
All right, any further questions? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We go to item 7.14 on page 477, which is the quarterly capital works update report, major projects for January 2024. Moved by Councillor Weston, second by Councillor Mayton. Any questions or comments about that matter?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor, but are you going to deal with the first one or the second one? 'Cause my question's in regard to Chelmsford Place. Oh, and we go for that. But for you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering, change in place for the toilet in Sycamore Car Park, right, might not be done by the completion date. And we've got the Art Deco coming along. I think it will be done by then, hopefully, out there at that part of it. But we probably won't have that place, the toilet place for that Art Deco.
That would be correct, Mr Mayor. We're actually asking the funder to remove that project out of the project, and there's quite a bit of grant money available for adult changing places, and we'll pursue that extra grant money to complete that component. But you're right, Councillor Weston, the toilet will still be there, but the extra adult disabled changing space won't be ready by the Art Deco Festival.
Any further comments or questions? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against?
Oh, no,
Sorry.
Just one more comment. I was talking to a resident of Canal Street. A very, very happy person.
Yeah, there should be.
What end do they live at?
Not me, no.
They live somewhere else.
There's some other ones at the other end, Councillor Weston, that aren't happy.
All right, so I'll just go through again. We've had a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Only due to their washing getting dirty.
Item 7.15 on page 484 is the minutes of the Leeton Local Area Traffic Committee meeting, February 2024. I move for that, please. Moved by Councillor Nardi, second by Councillor Sisia. I've just got a couple of questions. One, which on the spot here, Councillor Smith. I noticed there's no traffic plan there for Whitten Anzac Day. Or do I miss that? You know, if the Britton Town approval.
Yeah, I didn't see one there.
Neither did I. You know, were they going to put that in?
And then,
Yeah. I believe that they were going back to the RSL to discuss that.
Right,
Yeah, I can't answer that, I'm not sure.
I was put you on the spot, but just.
Yeah, no.
I saw it there.
No,
Right.
Is there when's the next meeting?
I don't know, but we might make some inquiries after the meeting anyway.
And Mr. Mayor, can I ask Luke to follow up with, it's not a council run event,
No.
Luke, but maybe Steph or someone could get in touch with the RSL. Maybe through you, Mr. Mayor, you know who's talking to you, and
Okay, we'll go
just
from
make
there.
sure that we're going to close off that road.
Yeah. We need to have a
We need
plan.
to have a plan, yeah.
Mayor, just also it might be good to, if they do the flag raising ceremony at Yanko on the footpath. or
They do that in this hall.
On the hall,
Yeah.
the flag poles at the front.
Yeah, they do it.
Right. Yeah.
And sorry, the other about hogging the questions, the other one was Councillor Sisia, which I've discussed with you prior to the meeting. The raised part of the road before the footpath in Pine Avenue.
Talking about the pedestrian crossing in Pine Avenue opposite.
And there's a term for that, what's it called?
Yeah, the Wombat crossing.
Really?
Wombat?
Yeah, that in Tato? Wombat crossing, now,
In Toto, it'll be Wombat.
I understand, this is something that's been raised by members of the community before. There's an issue on the western side of the footpath, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just talk to.
Just a little bit of history on, I guess, for a number of years now, there has been concerns raised by the public about traffic flowing through the main street, I guess, through Pine Avenue. This has been brought both at the infrastructure and more recently at the latest traffic meeting.
Yep.
Where this issue was discussed. There are a couple of issues to look at here, I guess. With the Wombat crossing, because of the width, there won't be, traffic won't be allowed to turn left from Maple Street. So it's going to be an obstacle that we have to overcome, I guess, by either sort of making Maple Street one way, if that's what the council and councillors would like to agree on, I guess, and put that to Transport New South Wales. And otherwise, we're running into a bit of a stumbling block.
Is that, and just for my knowledge, is that the official response from RMS, or is that just?
We actually haven't put, I don't think we've put the submission in. The director might be able to add to that, but yeah. At this stage, that's the major stumbling, but because of the width of the crossing, yeah, they've got concerns about traffic turning onto it from Maple Street. So, sort of getting advice, I guess, that the best way be to make Maple Street one way.
Oh, and has there ever been like a risk assessment done on it?
They've actually had apparently the numbers for the road meet the criteria.
Yep.
Traffic through. It's just mainly the issue of the width of the Wombat crossing and the fact that traffic will be turning left on Maple Street, is my understanding.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Weston?
Mr. Mayor, stage 4 of the CBD enhancement has Maple Street as a plaza there with
More or less an extension of Yarra.
So, you know, and that was given to the public. The public were quite behind all that, like the idea of that particular being that. So that's something in the wings. You know? In the wings.
Well, thank you. Councillor Kidd, do you have a question?
No, it was just a clarification, and Councillor Sisia managed that quite well.
All right, any other questions or comments? We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7.16 on page 530 is proposed naming of grandstand at Leeton 1 Oval. Councillor Holt, did you want to?
And I had a late thought on that, sorry.
Okay, all right.
Well,
So just for the record, Councillor Wayne wasn't here at the start of the meeting, but she's now identified a conflict of interest. That'll be not.
I think it'll be non-pecuniary, my son's. But I'm happy to leave if you.
Leave Stafford's alone, mate.
For the oval.
Yeah.
Any of us.
I just kind of had a late thought.
Really?
I should, don't worry. Oh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Just wanted to-
Yep, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Declare it not vote, but
Yes.
participate if you wish.
Yep.
Those circumstances.
Now, this is the item, of course, that
Yeah.
Chelsea Clark at the start of the meeting addressed us on
Yes.
and was the youth council. All right, the mover. Moved by councillor Kidd, second by councillor Smith. Any questions or discussions around that? Councillor Nardi?
Would you like me to speak on behalf of the youth council?
The youth council came here tonight
Okay.
and spoke to it. So, but if you have it, you speak to it as well.
No, no, it's fine.
Sure.
Positive, thank you.
All right. Councillor Kidd?
Really just to say what Chelsea, repeat what Chelsea said before and what Sandra was probably going to say, and that is, Bill's put a lifetime work in down there, and I couldn't think of a more deserving person, and the fact that it's also supported by all the user groups, I think
Valid point.
is important, and I think it validates that selection. So yeah, congratulations to Bill, and a good nomination.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, and probably more a comment than anything, but will there be some kind of unveiling of this stand during the year, or will it happen with the first game of football or something, or has anything been organised to recognise that the stand now that does now have a name, seeing as it is a council asset, and will be informed of that happening?
I would assume so, but
Yeah.
I'm unaware, Mr Mayor, we can find out and let councillors
Yeah.
know.
we'll just let them know. Councillor Weston?
Come on, like also follow up on that as well. I mean, he's done a great lot of work down there. And also, he was also a councillor.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he actually lives here as opposed to Mark Taylor, who's not here anymore. That's a little dig, I'm sorry.
Forgot he lived here.
It's good to be recognised. He's been here and he's done a lot of work for the place down there. Yes.
Yep, I agree. Thank you. Councillor Morris?
Yeah, I'd just like to endorse, but couldn't think of a more worthwhile person, and as councillor Weston said, contributed to our community in many ways for a lot of, or most of his life. So it's coming through one way or another. I was just going to say on behalf of council, then, do we actually officially notify him and congratulate him that that's what we've chosen to do? I'm assuming that procedure would follow.
We take the advice of the general manager, that one.
Thank you for raising that, councillor Morris, and we'll give that some thought, because I think at this point we're just presenting the paper, but in terms of how it's communicated, it's good that you raised it.
I think it'd be apt to say that council endorsed it and for his service to the community in many ways. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Councillor Holt?
I was going to say something else. I'll think back in.
Someone?
Yeah, I think he's.
Sandwich.
Yep.
Better know.
Expected.
All right, we'll go on to item 7.17 on page 535, which is the post-event report 2023 All-Up Leeton event. Moved by councillor Kidd, second by councillor Mayton. Any comments or questions?
It's a comment. It's a great day. Very good. Whole community's out there, everybody involved. I mean, typifies who we are, what we are. Very good.
I'd add to that,
and thanks to council staff, sorry.
Yeah, marvellous setup. It's a really good facility there. It's become certainly an institution. The generosity of people. I was involved in one of the stalls with one of the princesses, Rice Princesses candidates, ambassador candidates. And, the generosity of people, the spirit The entertainment on the night was great. The fact that we could snare Santa Claus, I thought was, and Mrs. Claus was absolutely brilliant. And congratulations to Michelle and Luke and all your staff. You've really excelled yourself in the work you've done there, and of course the committee bent over backwards there on that. So it's great effort by all.
Thank you. Councillor Sisia.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to acknowledge the businesses, like, that's a massive contribution to cash, the sponsorship.
Yep.
Like, yeah, over the $9,000 out of that budget, that, yeah, without these sort of events probably mightn't happen, or they wouldn't be as big as they are. So it's a great effort by those. Just a question for the Director of Economic and Community Development, I guess. Just looking at our advertising and marketing, it's a fair chunk of the budget, I guess. Like, I was just wondering, is there any ways that we can do that a bit more efficiently, I guess? Like, yeah.
And for you, Mr. Mayor, most of the advertising and marketing is actually completed by in-kind sponsorship via the local paper. But they don't actually charge us.
All right.
That's just the cost it would actually cost us to actually do a lot of the advertising. And there's some TV advertising in there as well, which isn't free, but a lot of the advertising in the local paper is actually in.
Yep. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, just a question through you to the big one. Sorry.
Director.
The Director. Do we actually have, and obviously the 20 organisations that provided stalls on the night, do we actually have a figure on what they make collectively?
3 years, Mr. Mayor, no, I do not know, but that's something that maybe we can look at doing next year.
Yeah, and because obviously when we look at grant funding and stuff for this kind of stuff, we don't measure how much money actually goes back into the community, because there's 20 organisations there that have now got funding that might get them through half the year. So I think that's important that we try and capture that. I don't think we need to name them and see how much each individual got, but maybe just a survey of the stall holders at the end and say, did you make between 5 and 10,000 or 1 and 2,000, or did you run the loss? And that might be something we could capture just for later on. And then I think that information is important to relay back to the community as well. That if they're spending their $2 on a cup full of cordial, that it's actually going back to the community.
And staying locally.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can give you a rundown.
Thank you.
Dagwood dogs later.
I'll try to.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Yes, Manager.
being not wanting to skite about themselves, and in the light of the comments made tonight, I wonder if the council would like to add the word events team into point number 2. Acknowledges the sponsors, volunteers, events team and outdoor staff who contributed to
All
this.
right, that was moved by Councillor Kidd. Do you have any problem with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Maydam, you seconded. You got any problem with that?
Don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, just reflecting the conversation.
Yep, that's good. Yep. We've had a mover and a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. What I'll do now is I'll go on to the council activity report on page 554. I'll guess we're going to the table. Councillor Kidd.
I think you've probably heard enough from me tonight, but it was a pleasure to stand in for you for a couple of weeks. Some very enjoyable things. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Nardi.
I'm right, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sisia.
Just a quick one, I guess. Just the Australia Day celebrations. I attended the one at Murray End at
Yep.
our Australia Day ambassador. The name just slips me at the moment, but
Lindy Milan.
Lindy.
yeah, I think she'd be a worthy little attraction to our chill and grill event. And
Wholeheartedly. She was ecstatic about Leeton.
I think if we could get her back for an event like that, it'd be, yeah.
You mean for the cooking demonstration?
Yeah.
Lots
How
of-
do you feel about that, Mr.?
Got some hard competition.
You may have to declare an interest, Mr Mayor.
No, but seriously, she was very intrigued by the Roxy and also just the whole, she loved Murray. She loved the whole thing.
Yeah.
What she said was it was a really, in her words, were a genuine cohesion in the community. Which I thought was pretty impressive. And she's been to 22 different ones. And it's easy to say this is the best one, but even her person she was travelling with said this is just unreal. So they're really happy. So I think she'd be ideal for the Chill and Grill, as long as she's happy with the silver medal.
Make it easy.
Need to retire, Mr.
Councillor Weston?
Yeah, I just want to comment on our survey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the staff. Fantastic day. It was a great day and did comment on the cohesion that we have.
Yep.
Of our First Nation. Right through, it was a great day and we had no, everybody happy with the outcome, the Joey Longford and so forth, you know. So thank you, for those councillors who went to those areas of Australia Day, so forth, but that's good day. The other thing is that I went on to the youth council. That's good.
All right.
The youth council.
Oh, yep, you did.
I'll let you guys talk about that. And the main one is the Sunrise Festival coming up, everybody. Dedicated band of workers and volunteers. Another great day for us to come up. Such a pity that Griffith has that Easter thing. You know? Years ago, it used to be alternated. It used to alternate years. Fantastic, you know, but please be aware and help out where we can, where there is. And well, chamber had a chamber meeting, but I'll to present that came up.
Thank you. Councillor Mayton.
Nothing much from me, but yeah, as George mentioned, we had a chamber meeting. Probably nothing major that kind of came to light from that, other that we've kind of got the wheels in motion for our 2024 business awards already. So there's a lot of planning already kind of happening and things behind the scenes.
What date's that on?
We haven't set a date and we might try and push it as late as we can this year just to give us adequate planning time. But we will have to consult with Business New South Wales because they'll determine what date, well, what months we can hold it up until, because then they'll have their next level event. So probably July, August, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
Councillor Morris.
No, I've got nothing additional to what everyone else has said. Thank you very much.
Councillor Holt.
Enjoyed Christmas.
Months ago.
My only council attendance event was the more recent ARIC meeting, but I will make efforts to go out to everybody.
On your mate. That'd be great to see. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks. And probably just the important one that I went to there on the 7th of February is I actually went across to Narrandera and sat in on the quarterly police meeting with the Narrandera Shire and senior police, and we've actually got acting superintendent Catherine Flood is now in charge of the LAC. I think possibly the first time.
Odds on to be the new commander.
Yeah, okay. First time we may have had a female in
First
charge
time.
in the LAC. So yeah, very impressive background that she does have in detective work and stuff. So I think she'll be a real asset to our community, and I look forward to some positive results coming out with her tenure here. So.
And I think just so people know, the position here of the inspector at the Leeton cluster, that was going to be filled or going to be interviewed in February. I haven't heard any outcomes yet, but a local fellow confidently might get it, so won't say.
Could I just add to mine?
Certainly.
We had the recent passing of Brian Fulgrove.
Yeah.
And Brian has lived here all his life, but a little bit of a sojourn in Canada. That was a very sad event for Julie and her children. Just like to let council recognise the fact that he was a valued member in our community.
Yeah, thank you for that. All right, just a couple of thank yous. Thanks for Councillor Kidd. I had COVID, it was wonderful. with holiday, that was fine, but thanks for your help there. And also to all the councillors who've been attending these things, like there's a lot of, a lot of you have got young families and work commitments, which I don't have. So it's great when you people can get there. I know you're filling in tomorrow for me at a thing tomorrow, Councillor Holt, so that's great.
Pleasure, Mr. Mayor.
On a probably more serious note, I'm the chair of the Ramsay Water Subcommittee, our full title.
Water security,
Water, yeah. But there's been a lot of stuff happening in that space from the government. Some of you would be across it, people are involved in water. I just thought I'd raise a couple of things. They've released, in January was the Water Amendment Restoring Our Rivers Act got passed. And there's been a framework released by a group, and the acronym is DQ. Which is something environmental water. Is another
Climate change is so Department of Climate Change, Environment, something in water.
Now they're saying all the right things about the buybacks. New South Wales government issued this paper last week. So this is alternatives to buybacks in New South Wales. There's a thing called the Community Adjustment Scheme, where the government is saying that if a community like ours suffers because of buybacks, there'll be an adjustment scheme where they come in and help us. Now, there's no detail about that, but they are saying the right things. But as I said a couple of hours ago, very optimistic. Got to be cautious with optimism about these sort of things. I know the general manager had a meeting today, and Tanya, the minister was there. She said there'd be no buybacks until 2025. Then she was reminded by one of her staff that's not quite right.
Yeah.
So.
And they're going to focus on the Southern Basin.
Southern Basin.
Right? But there's no detail yet of where exactly and how much. Until you have that clarity, it's really difficult to know what you're dealing with. So we did appeal this morning in Canberra for clarity as soon as possible so that we can have timely engagement, so that we truly can digest and understand the potential impacts and what we can do. But we've made it very clear we don't support buyback.
So they released, they wanted our feedback, and they released it on the 30th of January and closed on the 4th of March. So it's not much time, and so yeah. So, but we also the state minister, Rose Jackson, we met with her online last week, and then she's agreed to meet with all the country, or not the country mayors, the Ramsay mayors. We up there for the country mayors meeting the 20th of March, and she's agreed with ministers up there. She appears to be a little bit sympathetic, but again, there's no detail at all. And they asked the government how much money they got to spend on the community adjustment scheme. They said we're not allowed to tell you. So $1.50. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just giving you an update as to what's. As long as I was sitting on our hands, but actually are doing something about it. Councillor Sissia, you had a.
Yeah, just a question, I guess. Just in relation, is there any sort of register that councils can look up to see, or if how much water is being bought out of the region, like the Murrumbidgee Valley, for instance? Like, do we know if any water has been
Yes, we can. And I don't have the figures in the top of my head, and it's not absolutely easy to find, but I do have information from like New South Wales Irrigators Council that has crunched all these numbers. So there are some figures, and the Southern Basin and the Murrumbidgee have done heavy lifting so far. I don't want to quote a number and get it outrageous.
No, that's fine. I just didn't know if there was somewhere where.
Yeah.
Like some sort of registrar, I guess, where you could look it up and say, oh yeah, losing this amount of water is going to be significant, or not really that detrimental. So
I suppose in a nutshell, the DQ is saying all the right things to us, but there's no detail, which is the worrying part. Councillor Morris.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mayor, that community recompense is an interesting one, because you know, there's 1,000 questions you can ask on that. Is that a one-off payment or is it ongoing support? And if you've already taken the livelihood out of a community, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to throw at it, you're not going to have a community living there. So I think it's a bit of a hollow promise.
Yeah.
And be interesting to see, when you actually have some facts we have facts available to us.
All right.
It would have to be a new style, because building a sporting oval or a grandstand when the community's already gone.
The community.
All right, now I'll go back to, thank you, councillors, that, back to item 7.10, which is a power purchase agreement. As I said, there's confidential stuff in our confidential papers, but we're not going to, if no one wants to ask questions about that, we can just discuss it in open council. I suppose what I'm asking councillors, does anybody want to go into confidential, discuss this matter or not? All right, we'll go to item 7.10. It's on page 249. And it's the power purchase agreement.
Any numbers mentioned on that?
That's all to do with electricity, nothing to do with gas.
Correct.
Yes. As I said, in the confidential papers, there's a PowerPoint presentation sort of stuff. So anyway, does someone want to move that? First of all, 7.10, moved by Councillor Kidd, seconded by Councillor Holt. Is there any questions or comments about that item?
Does our, through you, Mr. Mayor, does our association with the Ramjo give us that leverage to knock them down? Is it a good positive thing, or will we figure?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, in a nutshell, when you can combine your purchase power, you've got far more leverage. So Ramjo has leverage by working together, and we've already enjoyed the outcome of the waste contract. If you now combine Ramjo with the Hunter JO, then there's even more leverage. Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, the director would like to add to that, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of buying power, I'll simply be echoing the General Manager's comments. So very similar principles to the waste contract process that we've just gone through, but this is amplified further because we're actually, Ramjo is joining with Hunter JO, so there's an even bigger pool. The way a power purchase agreement works is you lock your prices in for an extended period of time. Now, the reason this council report's coming in advance is because we have to sign an MOU, which is actually due tomorrow. So we've got a very tight time frame. If we miss the boat on that MOU, we miss out on the process. We can't participate. So to participate in the PPA comes with a cost. It's $13,980 to participate. Now, that fee is payable whether we decide to sign a contract or not. How the process works is a lot of data collecting, which we've been doing in the background to be ready for tomorrow. So we need to provide that. And basically what that will do is it'll be added to all the other councils that are participating and become one giant electricity spend, a gigawatt hour or whatever it looks like. That will then go through a tender process. Now, there's two key steps in the tender process. So we'll go to the market and we'll get initial pricing, and this will give us an indication as to what the market looks like. Step two is, so we could pull out at any stage through this process. So I'll just put that in there. Step two is the official tender. So we've tested the market, we've got a fill, we go back to the market and we get official pricing, which is secured pricing that we can sign a contract to. The big catch with that is the prices are only locked in for 24 hours once we receive them. So we need to act quickly. And that's why the report's been put forward in this manner. So when we get to that stage and the prices have been assessed, we're in a position that we can engage into that PPA.
Thank you. Councillor Kidd.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, perhaps back to the director again. If I understand the bulk purchase agreement, and that gives us the the weight of a BHP or someone else in this sort of market. And I know New South Wales Health did bulk deals years ago, but we had to change a lot of meters and there was a reasonable amount of expense in that sort of thing. Will there be ongoing expenses if we change provider, say in another 4 years? Would we have to dump all our old meters and take on new meters? Things like that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was actually involved in that process at Health.
I wasn't sure if it was before your time or not.
I came in on the back end of it. So you're correct. So the meters all need to be smart meters. Now the market we're going for. So I'll go back a step. So we've essentially got 3 electricity accounts. So we've got a small market account, and that small market account is tacked into a New South Wales government contract, and it's a really good contract, very good pricing. Then the other 2, we have our street lighting, and we have our large market sites. So in terms of total energy used, if you combine our street lights and our large market sites, they're the biggest portion of our electricity spend. Now the PPA is targeting those 2 categories, the street lighting and the large market sites. Now the street lighting is actually an unmetered supply, whereas the large market sites have already been upgraded to smart meters. So we're in a position. So in terms of cost for upgrading meters, that's not required for this. Okay. If we were down the track to look at our small market sites, we've got a hybrid. There's about 1/3 that have already been upgraded to smart meters and 2/3 that haven't. So we would have to outlay capital upfront to upgrade them.
Okay. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
So this first process would be, to you, Mr. Mayor, would be the 13,980. We're assuming that we would consume 1 to 3 gigawatts. And that just sits us at the table, doesn't it?
So in the MOU, we're in the second lowest tier. So there's actually a tier below where Leeton's positioned.
Yeah.
So like a Hay Shire would sit in the lowest tier. Yeah, so we're not outside the realm, and we're definitely not a bigger spender like an Albury City, as an example.
Yeah. And we've also with these projects for the solar arrays that we're putting in the future, obviously this will be a better supplier in terms of what we'll spend, even though we're going to expend on those solar arrays.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor, the benefits of the PPA is it secures our pricing in for a long period of time.
Right.
So as we've all seen through our own households and businesses, the electricity prices have been fluctuating, especially over the last sort of 24 months. So we don't know what the future is going to hold. Predictions are it's going to continue to increase. This will lock us in, and it'll lock us in for up to 10 years. So we'll have stability, and it'll help with our financial management longer term.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. Director, sorry. Any further comments, Councillor Sissia?
Well, just through you, Mr. Mayor, to the director. Will there be any annual fees being part of this agreement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there's usually metering fees and other routine fees that you would have on any electricity account. So if you looked at your own electricity bill, you would see you've got usage fees as well as metering fees. That would still be applicable because we would still need to maintain our smart meters. Over and above that, there will be nothing else.
Yep. And just one other question. I noted in the delivery program, it's slipped by. I was going to congratulate you on it, that our electrical expenditure dropped from 279 to 130, like through like the installing of solar and more efficient energy lighting, I guess. How much further do you think this could drop that account, I guess, like given that even though it fell by that much and there was an increase of about 12% over the same period? in the price.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So when it comes to energy, energy is largely, it revolves around human behaviors. And what I mean by that, if running your air conditioner at 16 degrees instead of 21 degrees has an impact. And now that we've got a lot of solar, the weather plays a factor as well. If we have a lot of overcast and rainy days, that's going to reduce our production. One of the biggest reasons, there's a few factors, apart from all the solar installations, LED lighting upgrades, power factor correct. We haven't done power factor correction yet. Sorry, variable speed drives that we've put in. The other big factor is that state government contract that we're on for the small markets that dropped our prices significantly. In terms of what we could be saving through this PPA, I think the message is more security. So I'll give you an example. When our contract expires for the small market sites, the chances of us getting the same level of deal is very slim. So there's a likelihood that we'll see a price increase when the small markets contract expires. What this PPA will do is it'll give us a longevity and fix our prices long term. So we're not in the volatile market, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just had one other question too, just in relation to the 10 years, I guess. Is there any risk that between like now and 10 years, there could be, batteries or whatever come into play and may end up paying more rather than, like.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of our own behind the meter capabilities, so that's what we do on our own sites. There's no restrictions. So if we wanted to continue to install solar arrays, put battery backup, whatever that might look like, new technology in 10 years' time could be things that we aren't aware of now. We're not bound or restricted in that capacity. All projections are saying electricity is going to just continue to climb in costs. The other thing which I haven't added, and I might add while we're going, is just like the FOGO mandate and other mandates, there's rumours that are going around the industry around CO2 target mandates. So by going through this PPA process, it puts us in a position that if it does, or when it does, become a mandate, where we're positioned well to address that mandate.
Thank you.
Councillor Weston.
You know, I'm pretty sure I saw the street lighting went up as well. Street lighting costs went up for that. So this is part of the street lighting. So when we put more subdivisions in, there'll be more street lights going in. So that'll be a safe.
Yes. So through you, Mr. Mayor, virtually all of our street lights are now LED. So that's one area we're saving significant amounts of money. Now, it's only natural that the town will grow and the PPA will evolve slightly. So one of the things that they've asked is through the process, if we're aware of significant increases. Now that a significant increase is in the megawatt realm. So if we're expecting a 10 megawatt increase in the next 10 years, we need to flag that now. But that's very unlikely. Even if we were to build a new water treatment plant, that would be more efficient than the old. So if we were to build 4 subdivisions in the next 10 years, the LED lighting that would be installed for the street lighting won't offset that, if you get what I mean. The additional load will not be significant.
Thank you, Councillor Holt.
So, Director, would there be merit in Leeton Shire Council considering, with this CO2 mandate that you're talking about, that we visit larger copses of trees to offset our council? Would that be a consideration that we could the future council or whatever could come up with to add to this as a selling point?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have tree planting in our energy strategy. And one of the things that the ops team is to do is actually develop a strategy or a plan for planting trees across the Shire. It's not in the current, we report on what trees are planted at the moment. And we increased the budget a couple of years ago to proactively plant trees, but it's not been done to a plan at the moment. So that'll come probably in next year's delivery program.
Would that be, would there be grant funding that we could access in terms of doing those plantings once we determine? Or do you think they might hold back on that and,
But, Luke, the director, he's obviously got knowledge.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So through Josh Klein's team, they have a tree planting program so that they plant X amount of trees per year, and that forms part of the town beautification. So at this point in time, there is no firm mandate. There's targets, but they're not mandated on us yet. Now, in the event the mandate comes through, all of those tree plantings that Josh has been doing, we can actually factor them in. So they see them as a carbon capture site. So the tree takes carbon out of the atmosphere. So we can use that to offset our emissions.
my fear is that, it'd be like the Red Fleet, is that if we haven't got enough, tree plantings to offset CO2, we'll be penalised in some, or future councils be, penalised in some way. So just, as you said, behind the meter, this would be considered, might be a good thing to get onto it early.
Councillor Kidd.
Just for the trees, Mr. Mayor, there's a lot of whispers around, and if you ever go to a local government conference, you'll find there's a lot of whispers around. There's a lot of talk in the background of pressure and legislation on cooling of urban areas by the planting of trees. So you'll probably find that sort of thing, one, will become mandated, and two, will be supported by some sort of funding. That sort of funding will never be enough, but it is talked about in those circles.
We've signed an agreement to say that we'll reduce our carbon tonnage. I think we're perceived as a leader in this climate change, right? So
the local government is at the fore of a lot of these things.
All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Well, we've had a mover, we've had a seconder. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That's all there is. All right, the time is 9:32 PM and I declare the meeting closed.